Welcome to the Insights on Internships from Professor Jones podcast, or IOI for short. If you're a student studying hospitality and tourism management, and you have an internship or work experience requirement, this podcast is for you. That also includes those of you in event management, or MICE emphasis as it's called in certain parts of the world. It's my objective to pass along the knowledge I've gained in nearly 50 years in the hospitality field. As an industry professional, I hired and managed interns. As a faculty member, I supervised students in their internships and oversaw internship courses. As an academic administrator, I developed curriculum that incorporated internships and work experience. So I've experienced every aspect of the process. Each episode will typically be less than 15 minutes long. The topics will cover the entire range from determining the type of internship you want, through the actual internship experience, and finally the reflection afterwards on what you've learned and how to connect it to your future career ambitions. The topic of this IOI episode is Internship Perspective. Now, I'll be honest, this is my very first attempt at a podcast, so I hope you'll give me the same consideration you'd expect on your first day on the job at your internship. The agenda for this podcast is that we will cover the purpose of an internship, how long is your internship, whether it's paid or unpaid and the dilemma associated with that, and COVID implications. So first, let's talk about the purpose of an internship. It's more than just a job. It needs to have a learning component. Now, the purpose, as we say in the academic world, is applied learning. Dr. Michael Collins, a former colleague of mine, in his book, Make It Count, Getting the Most from a Hospitality Internship, defines it as connecting the theoretical knowledge from academics with the practical knowledge in an industry setting. And I think that's a great definition that fits very well with the concept of taking what you learn in the classroom and applying it in a work environment, as well as what you learn in the work environment and coming back later and applying it in the classroom. So remember that this internship is about learning to be a manager. So you need to be able to understand managers' duties and responsibilities by watching and observing what the managers that you work for do. You want to know what it's like to be managed as well, because you need to know your future employees or staff's perspective of what they're looking for from you as a manager. And during that management aspect, you need to be able to experience management meetings, both as an employee and as a manager in terms of what you think is appropriate in the way that they are run. Now, we'll use, for the purpose of this podcast, internship and work experience synonymously. At Singapore Institute of Technology, we called it an Integrated Work Study Program, or IWSP for short. How long is your internship? Well, there are many different lengths. It could be 3, 6 months, or a year. In European schools, they often require a full year commitment. It could be part-time or full-time. Part-time, where you're doing it while you're also studying that semester, term, trimester, whatever you're on, or on a full-time basis over that period of time. There's no particular magic to any option. However, time will dictate the amount of rotation or different departments of the organization you might be able to experience. Now, I will tell you, when you go across borders and do an internship in another country, they often will want you to be a longer period of time in order to rotate you into different positions. But I'll talk more about those differences on a global basis and what it means to do those overseas in another podcast. Whether it's paid or unpaid is a major dilemma. Now, in the United States, it has been interpreted in a number of places that legally an internship needs to be paid. Certainly, if you're in a union contract situation, there is a definition of what you can and can't do because you can't take the position of a union employee. Now, an internship could also just be shadowing a manager, and in that case, it could be potentially unpaid. Now, my opinion is that all internships should be paid. However, you can be very creative with how you pay, as it could just be applying scholarship monies. We have to be able to talk about COVID implications. I'm sure in studying hospitality and tourism, you already know that there's a shortage of labor worldwide, and that also means that there's less management. The positive aspect of that for you today is there is a need for managers who can manage in adverse situations, which is what you're going to learn in. The challenge is keeping the internship focused on the management learning opportunity and not being sidetracked into the regular routine job responsibilities that you're going to be responsible for. So in summary, an internship is not just a job. It's about finding out what you want. And again, it's a learning experience, key element. I also would say that there's no such thing as a bad internship experience. Maybe it won't go exactly how you hoped, but you'll learn from that, and you'll learn what to do in your own situation when you're managing someone who's on an internship. Thanks for listening to this episode of my IOI podcast. If you heard something you liked, please share it with your fellow classmates. I'd also encourage you to forward it on to your faculty internship supervisor. Hey, you could even include your supervisor at your place of work. Enjoy your internship learning experience.